Everybody outside this hobby thinks a Rolex is a Rolex. One crown, one message, and the message is money. That is not how it works in here. The brand tells you nothing. The model tells you everything. Because nobody stumbles into a Submariner by accident. He chooses it, and the choosing is the part he cannot hide. 13 of them, from the ones your mother could name to the ones only owners care about. Inside this hobby, the model is not a preference, it is a confession. Stay for number 13, because that man is the only one here not performing, and he is paying the most for the privilege. Number 1, the Submariner. Safe. He researched this for about 10 minutes. He typed best luxury watch into a search bar, saw the same black dial and dive bezel 3 times, and decided before the kettle boiled. Nobody can fault it. Nobody is surprised either. When a Submariner slides out from under a cuff, the room does not react, because the room already knew. He will tell you he chose it because he dives. He has been in a swimming pool. But he was right. 300 meters of water resistance, a ceramic bezel that will outlive him, and a silhouette so correct that every other brand has spent 70 years producing a slightly worse version of it. He did not think hard. He did not need to. Which is the opposite of the next man, who finished thinking years ago. Number 2, the Datejust. Established. The watch of a man whose life is in order. He is not chasing anything anymore, and neither is the Datejust. Fluted bezel, Jubilee bracelet, a date under a little magnifying bubble. And that is the entire pitch. Is it slightly boring? Yes. Has he earned the right to be? Also yes. He has stopped needing the room to look at him, which is a stage almost nobody later in this video reaches. And the turn is the strongest so far. This is the most versatile watch Rolex makes. If you could keep one watch for life, and you were being honest rather than interesting, this is the one. He knows that, which is why it is on his wrist and not in a drawer. If you have recognized somebody already, or worse, yourself, subscribe. We do this to a different corner of the watch world every week. Stay for number 3, the man who has checked a resale value more recently than he has checked the time. And keep number 13 in mind. Number 3, the Daytona. Waitlist. He does not want the watch. He wants the watch he cannot have, which is a different object. He visits an authorized dealer the way other men visit a parole officer, building a purchase history so a stranger will one day permit him to spend money. He has not adjusted the time on anything he owns in a month, and you can watch that reflex live. Earlier in 2026, the Pepsi bezel GMT simply failed to appear where people expected it in the catalog listings. And that was all it took. Nobody at Rolex confirmed anything, but the absence was enough. The forums did what forums do, and prices moved before a single fact existed. That is the psychology of this entry, on a watch that is not even his. The turn, though, the movement is superb, the pushers feel like nothing else at this level, and the design has not needed changing since 1963. He is not wrong to want it. He is wrong about why. And speaking of that Pepsi bezel, here is the man who owns one. Number 4, the GMT Master II. Travels? Question mark? 2 time zones. 2. For a man who has meaningfully used one since 2019, the second hour hand is set to New York. He does not know a single person in New York. He will tell you the bezel is bidirectional and runs on 24 hours. He will rotate it while explaining this to you, at a table, indoors, in one time zone. That hand does not track anything. It exists so he has a reason to bring up the bezel. But the GMT Master is the best travel watch ever built, and it is not close. It came from a Pan Am request for pilots crossing the Atlantic. The people who live between airports treat it as equipment, not jewelry. He is not one of them. The next man built a personality out of not being one either. Number 5, the Explorer. Humble brag. He picked the understated one. And he needs you to notice how understated he is being, which is the loudest thing on this list. He will use the phrase, the thinking man's Rolex, out loud, to your face, in a room where nobody asked. He will explain that he did not want anything flashy while wearing a Rolex. And yet, The Explorer is the purest expression of what this company was originally for. Black dial, 369, no bezel, no date, nothing trying to sell you anything. It came back from Everest and barely changed because there was nothing left to fix. It is the only one in the catalog with a mountain behind it. He is right about the watch. He is exhausting about the watch. The next man is neither, because he bought a watch named after something he does not own. Number 6. The Yacht Master. No boat. He spent more than a Submariner costs on a watch built for the Submariner's job with a softer bezel and a nicer strap, named after something he has never done. There is no boat. There has never been a boat. There is one photograph of him on somebody else's boat. It got funnier this year because the Yacht Master II returned in 2026 with a redesigned case and a new movement, and the headline feature is the Regatta Chronograph. That is a programmable countdown for the minutes before the start of a yacht race. He is going to use it to time pasta. The turn is real though. The Regatta complication is proper mechanical engineering, one of the very few properly clever things at this tier. The bidirectional bezel is beautifully executed, and the sailing world takes it seriously, even if he does not. At least he paid for a complication. The next man paid for the door. Number 7. The Oyster Perpetual. Starter. The cheapest way through that door, and he will not tell you that was the reason. He will tell you he wanted the purest Rolex. No date, no bezel, no complication, just the case and the crown. Also the one he could get. You can spot him because he over-explains it. Nobody buying a Submariner has a paragraph about why. This man has one ready. And this is where he gets away with it, because he is telling the truth. It is the purest Rolex. And the Oyster case turned 100 years old in 2026, which means the sealed case on his wrist is a century of the same argument won over and over. He bought the original thesis. He also bought it because it was the entry point. The next man bought the most complicated watch Rolex makes and has never once said it correctly. Number 8. The Sky Dweller. Complicated. Annual calendar. Second time zone. A rotating ring command bezel that selects which function you are adjusting. The most complicated thing this company builds, and he uses it to establish whether it is morning. He has never said it correctly. Not the calendar, not the second time zone, none of it. The little red triangle points at a month that has not happened yet. He knows. He has decided not to know. He will explain, unprompted, that the annual calendar only needs adjusting once a year, at the end of February. He has not been home on that day since 2023. That movement is one of the most impressive things Rolex has ever engineered. Ring command means every adjustment happens through the crown, with no pushers and no tiny tool. Other brands charge triple for an annual calendar that does less and fails more. He owns something remarkable. He owns it the way a man owns a book he has not read. Number 13 has read his twice. But first, the man who bought the newest thing Rolex has made. Number 9. The Land Dweller. First, he wanted an integrated bracelet sports watch from a brand that requires no explanation at a dinner table. He did not want to say the words Audemars Piguet to his wife's father. So when Rolex finally built one, he bought it on day one, so nobody could accuse him of arriving late. He will describe the honeycomb dial to you unprompted. He will tilt his wrist to catch the light while you are talking. But here is what he did not buy it for. The Land Dweller runs a new escapement, the most interesting engineering this company has done in a decade. Not a new dial or bracelet, a new way of moving energy through a movement. He got real horological progress by accident, and he still leads with the honeycomb. The next man did not need to be first. He needed to look like he owns the building. Number 10. The day date on the President bracelet. The boss. He wants to be mistaken for a man with a driver. That is the whole purchase. Gold case, fluted bezel, and the day of the week spelled out in full. Because this is a watch for a man so significant, he might otherwise lose track. His calendar is managed by somebody else. His watch tells him it is Tuesday. He straightens his cuff before shaking hands. Every time. He has practiced the angle. But the day date has been on more heads of state and more people who really do decide things than any watch ever made. And that is 70 years of photographs, not a marketing line. The president bracelet alone justifies a serious share of what he paid. He bought a costume and accidentally got a masterpiece. Which brings us to 3 men who skipped the costume and went straight to shouting. Number 11. Full gold, two-tone, or factory diamonds. Loud. 1 entry, not 3, because it is 1 impulse. The Rolex was already the loudest object in most rooms he walks into, and he decided it was whispering. But there are 3 versions of him, and they are worth separating out loud. The two-tone man bought his in one window, somewhere between the late 80s and the mid-90s, when gold and steel was simply what success looked like. Then the hobby spent 20 years calling it dated. Then the hobby came back around, and now two-tone sits on every wish list, and he has been quietly vindicated without ever saying a word. The full gold man wanted the watch to read correctly from across a car park. That is the specification. Not across a table, not across a room, a car park. And the diamond man bought a Rolex, then paid extra to remove the subtlety, which, and I mean this, is the only fully honest purchase on the entire list. He looked at the most recognizable luxury object on the planet and said, more. The turn covers all 3. Rolex sets its stones in-house, to a standard the aftermarket cannot reach. Gold has aged far better than the steel crowd expected. And all 3 told you exactly what they wanted, which is more than I can say for number 12. Number 12. The Cellini, or the 1908. Nobody knows. He bought a Rolex that nobody has ever identified as a Rolex, and he has decided this makes him tasteful rather than unlucky. This slot absorbs the old Air King and the Milgauss too. Round case, clean dial, no bezel, no crown guards, nothing telling the eye what it is. He has explained what it is more often than he has been complimented on it, and there is a pause before he says the word Rolex, because he knows how it lands. But the finishing on the 1908 is a level above the sports models, and that is not a small thing to say. Thinner case, a movement you can watch through the back, handwork the Submariner has never needed. If he had wanted recognition, he could have bought it. He wanted the watch instead, and the price of that is explaining it forever. Which leaves 1 man, and he is the only one here I am not certain I can beat. Number 13. Any vintage Rolex. Patina. This is not a model. This is a stance. The bezel is faded from black through gray to something closer to blue. The tritium plots have gone creamy and uneven. The bracelet has real stretch, the kind where the links sag when he sets it down. There is damage on the dial, and he calls it character. Technically, he calls it a spider, or a tropical, or a ghost, because there is a vocabulary for this. He believes he is above the modern crowd. He is not. He is the same crowd, 20 years earlier, paying more for a watch that keeps worse time. He will use the word honest about an inanimate object. He will tell you they do not make them like this anymore, about a company that still exists and still makes them. He will not let anybody touch it. He has a man in another country. And now the warm part, because he is right about the thing that matters. Vintage Rolex is where every design decision the rest of this list is still copying got made. The cases were thinner and better proportioned than anything in current production, by a margin that surprises people who handle one. And a dial that aged badly across 40 years, unevenly, in a pattern that will never occur again, is one of one in a way that nothing you can order can manage. But the real difference is simpler. He is not performing an identity. He likes the smell of the case back, the sound of the bracelet, the fact that it loses 2 minutes a week. He likes the object, which is the whole reason, and it is rarer on this list than it should be. So that is the confession, model by model. The safe one, the settled one, the one he cannot get, the boat he does not have, the calendar he cannot set, and the one that outlived the argument. And you know which one you are. You have known since number 3. So tell me in the comments, the model, the year you bought it, and whether the label I gave you was fair, or whether I have described your entire personality without your permission. I will read them, I will judge quietly, and if you are sitting on a wait list right now, be honest about that one too.